Hello, and welcome to Sutro Sidetalk, episode 188. I'm your host, Kamran Shushtar, and with me is...
James Seelig.
And today we are continuing our Destiny 2 Lightfall talk with this part 2 episode. With us once again is Ebontis.
Hello.
And joining us for the first time is IGN's very own Travis Northup.
McClunky. Hello, it is I. I am Travis Northup. Some people call me Tie Guy Travis, and I write for IGN, unfortunately, for everyone else.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, he was on the Fireteam Chat as well.
Yes,
and I
totally
the
Destiny
forgot.
community knows me.
It's so interesting. I didn't even make the connection until you just said McClunky. I was like, oh, that's that guy.
Yes, yes. I was on Fireteam Chat for a number of years. I was the reason the show ended. They didn't like me specifically. They were like, we got to get this guy off the air. So
it's all you, 100%.
It's funny because when I met Travis, I totally forgot he was on. I'm like, oh yeah, I love Fireteam Chat, and he's like, I was on it, and I'm like looking, and I'm like, and you say McClunky, and I'm like, oh, it's him, it's that guy. But we're here, like I said, Lightfall Part 2. No news once again this week, and we're continuing where we left off from last week, where we talked the campaign, we talked Season of the Seraph, and the Neomuna destination and how that is so far. This week, we are talking specifically the exotic quests, which there are four, but the fourth one doesn't really count, unless you're New Light, I guess, for this expansion. We also have the Strand subclass to actually talk about, not just the kind of half-assed Strand you get throughout the campaign. And then Loadouts, the UI changes, the Root of Nightmares raid, along with Season of Defiance with its very, very heavy story and seasonal activity and exotic quest. But we're going to go ahead and jump right in with the exotic quests of Lightfall, which we had the Final Strand, Unfinished Business, and Strider. There was also another last city, but that's just the Arbalist, and unless you already had that, you didn't really care. So how did we feel, though, about, I guess, the first one being the Final Strand, which you get from doing just unlocking everything in the Strand subclass from the fragments and what do you call them? How did I just forget the name for them? But the aspects, that's what it's called.
Well, first I felt betrayed because Bungie promised me that I was going to have to grind to unlock the subclass like I did for Stasis, and they lied. They lied. Not only did they lie because it was kind of a grind, you just had to go and kill things with Strand for a long time, but they also had intended for it to be weekly. And they went back on it because of us, because we complained so badly that then they just unlocked all of it at the same time. So, I mean, good on them for that. But the fact that it was even planned to be weekly after they told us that they weren't going to do this again is kind of hilarious. But I don't actually remember any of these missions. I recorded them for the video review for IGN, but so I kind of remember some of the stuff we did. But my recollection of all three of these exotic quests was you were somewhere on Neomuna doing some stuff. You had to kill some guys. At the end, there was probably a tormentor, because that's their only big bad enemy that they have now, the new big new enemy. And then you got an exotic. That's kind of what I remember on all of these, right? And this one, actually, the one that you're talking about now, you buy it, don't you? You just get it. You do the thing, and then you go up to the meditation panel and you just grab it from the UI. Yeah, so you don't even, it's not even an in-world drop or anything. So
no.
I would just say all of these exotic quests were forgettable. The one that was good was Vexcalibur, which to me that's where we should be talking about. The other one's
the only one I
who
remember
cares?
doing.
Vexcalibur is the only one that's worth actually talking about as a mission that's cool.
Well,
so.
I'll save you a little time. I technically still don't have the Final Strand because every so often I'll look at it, I'm like, oh, I need to do that, and then I don't do it.
I saved that one actually myself. That was the last one I needed.
That's surprising.
And I left it for a couple.
I know
it's
just it's that Strand sidearm. I was like, it didn't seem like it was going to be a meta game breaker or anything like that, and then it just keeps being one of those things where it's I could do that, or I could just not do it right now.
It's a grind, man. I had to get all the exotics for the review, so I was like, I need to do this thing, so I grinded it out. But I remember my fiance, she was she plays Destiny as well. She was looking at it, she was like, I really want that gun. She loves sidearms, she likes Strand, all that stuff. And then when she saw what she actually had to do, she was like, ha, no.
What
not doing that. I'm not just
gonna... What do you have to do for it? since I
You just have to
apparently
run around Neomuna killing things with Strand forever.
Yeah.
It just
So wait,
takes
you buy it with
forever.
Strand meditations?
You have to own all of the other Strand icons and then it
Oh my
unlocks it
god,
for you.
I'm so
Yes.
far
Yeah,
behind
it's
on
the
that.
worst.
'Cause
It's the
I only
worst.
play on weekends mostly, so
Yeah.
it's gonna take me like forever.
Yeah, it takes forever, and there's not really a good way to grind it while doing other things. Like you kind of just have to run around Neomuna killing stuff with Strand, which is what I did, and it took like 7 hours. It was just way
Oh
too
my
long.
god.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like just I guess do public events and go to the Vex incursion areas. Really, that's gonna
Vex
be it.
incursion's the best way to do it. Just run
Or
around and
when you collect all the figures, just do it during there too, because you'll be running into stuff along the way a bunch of times for
Yeah.
that. So, but I guess it's trying the final warning. I liked it a lot. It's a really fun sidearm, being a
Good gun.
Strand sidearm. Especially what is it? Sidearms for anti-barrier this season. Is that correct?
yeah, it's one of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was a little bit helpful, but I like its rate of fire, especially. I think that's the big thing for me. It definitely is fun to use. The unfinished business one, I think that was the Rohan quest. I'm pretty sure, but you get like a machine gun. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really used it at all.
I've used that machine gun and it's mid, but like in terms of the quests, like none of us remember these quests.
Yeah,
They're like
no,
5
Yeah.
minutes long. They're not very interesting. That's my
I think
Excalibur.
Yeah, and then you get to
Next.
Excalibur, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
let's
shit,
talk
we
dude,
can
about
just,
easy.
we'll just talk about
Excalibur
Excalibur
is a
right
good
now.
one, yeah.
And okay, so Excalibur, I thought it was really fun just finding out like, hey, there's a secret, and it's like, what's the secret? Go to this location in the EDZ, and you see the little glowing like Vex orb things or squares, I guess, and you what is it like
Right.
6 of them in a time limit? You have to get them, and it unlocks the portal, and you go in, and it's got what's his face from the
Asher Mirror.
I mean, the boss though, it has him from the IO right?
Oh,
IO
yeah.
strike.
Oh.
The
Oh,
Pyramid.
you're talking
The
Right.
funny thing is, when I got to that boss fight
Oh,
with my brother,
Brachion?
yeah,
Brachion.
Brachion.
Yes, Brachion.
I literally was like, wow, this has like really Pyramidian vibes. And then all of a sudden, the exact same boss pops up. I was like, it is that guy. We are here. Oh my god.
Yep.
Yeah, but
It's
yeah,
great that
having
they
seeing,
can
like,
get people
Ghost
excited by
Asher
putting the
around.
same boss in the game again.
It's weird how they could do
It's
that.
not
where it's like,
lazy.
yeah.
It's a callback. It's
Yeah.
cool. It's
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's like they keep bringing the Dark Blade back. It's like, hey, it's the guy again.
Yeah,
Wow,
I've
that
spent
was-
a
He's
lot of
Guardian
time.
now.
I've spent a lot of time in that mission, actually.
How did you feel about Asher reappearing though as his little what do you call it? Harpy form?
Great. Yeah, he's the character I most identify with as a curmudgeon-y old person. So
Ah, yes.
definitely
You
makes
said
sense.
it. I didn't. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, I said it because of all of the YouTube commenters. Oh yeah, did I ever tell you the story, E? One time I was playing Destiny with my buddy and we were on comms together and his girlfriend heard Destiny playing and thought it was my voice coming through the speaker and asked why I was talking about something, and then my buddy said, "That's not Travis, that's Asher Mir," and it's the most I've ever been roasted in my life.
That's hilarious.
It was really, really, yeah. I'm still recovering from that one.
Dang.
But yeah, I liked his returning. I really wish they would do more with these. I'm sick of environmental storytelling. I really am. I mean, it's cool in Elden Ring, but like every game doing lazy storytelling and then being like, it's not lazy, it's environmental, really bothers me. And like the fact that I have to go and like look up and decrypt binary and stuff like that to figure out what Asher Mir is saying, and the fact that he's back is like, you could have just like put a cutscene or maybe a couple lines of dialogue, or maybe Asher Mir's talking to you. Like, do we have to do this whole like coy like maybe we'll tell you the story eventually? Like Lightfall already had enough problems with storytelling. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a knockout of the park. Also, just in general, this mission, it's nice to know that they found a way to put this in the game, because it's clearly a dungeon that didn't make the cut, right?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me. It
And
feels
it
like a
does feel-
dungeon that they were like, it doesn't really have enough. We don't really have a unique boss at the end. Let's just throw it in the game. It'll be a heroic mission. A special
But I mean,
mission.
like, I'm trying to think. Because it is long. Like, I mean, my video guide
Yeah.
for the legendary one's like an hour and 11 minutes. So
It's longer than 0 Hour or Whisper. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not one of those missions.
yeah, like Presage wasn't this long.
It's got
'cause it had
multiple
actually had its-
bosses.
Yep.
with unique mechanics for each of them.
No, it is kind of a mini.
It's a
dungeon.
dungeon.
Think about it
Yeah,
that way.
It's just
Yeah.
a dungeon that
Yeah.
didn't like they were like, it's not really good enough. Let's not put it in the game. And then I have a feeling that they repurposed it. I bet you it was a failed dungeon, and then because Lightfall was entirely made up on the spot, basically, we've kind of confirmed that at this
Yes,
point.
yeah, yeah.
They made it because they didn't have the other game ready. I think they took this and repurposed it, and they were like, as a regular mission, people are gonna love it. If it was a dungeon, people would be like, it's okay. But as a hidden mission, it's like a 10 out of 10, you know?
That makes
So I
total
think-
sense. Because
I
even the
think-
first time I was playing it, I was like, this is really long. Like
It's
I
really
get it, but-
long.
yeah.
It has
long,
2
yeah.
bosses. It doesn't feel
But
like
if you think about it
anything-
as a dungeon, it's like it's a little short for a dungeon.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's a failed dungeon that they repurposed and put back in the game.
I wasn't expecting it. So when I was doing it, I thought it was going to be an exotic quest like the Lightfall ones. I'm like, oh, it's easy. You run through it and it's whatever, you're done. So I'm going through it solo and I'm like, man, this is getting a little crazy. And I'm like, oh, you can't respawn? And I'm
the
trying not
checkpoints
to
in it
die.
are
So this,
there are some rough checkpoints in there. They
Yeah.
honestly, like, now that you're saying dungeon, because I go Shattered Throne, bunch of enemies, opening section, thousands of enemies that spawn constantly. And you got a little platforming, then you got 2 bosses. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of nailed it.
I was like, I think when I was fighting Brachion, I was like getting a little just like, deal, why is this so difficult for just solo run? And it's like, dude,
Solo run is tough.
that's
It
like
is,
especially the end
regular
when he
exotic
just like
quest. And I'm
won't
like,
stop coming after you.
yeah. And I'm
that
like,
solo
wait,
run
what?
on Legendary I had a very
Legend is
specific
fun.
build to blow everything up. Constant
I did,
explosions, volatile, like the whole time.
You know what I used? What's that bow that pierces through shields?
Wish Ender. I use that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used Wish Ender,
Wish
so
Ender
you
is
can
kinda great in
damage
there.
him before he gets into damage phase by
Nice.
shooting through.
Oh, did
his
you
shield.
cheese it while you still could?
Was that a cheat? I didn't know I was cheesing it. I
Like
was
the
just,
bit when he's standing behind the shield, like in the
yeah,
second
I was just shooting him
phase?
with it.
Oh
yeah.
no, you're not supposed to
Mm.
be able to do that. They
Nice.
fixed that.
All right, well,
Uh,
I mean, that
I
was a
tried that
cheese for a bit.
immediately. I tried that as soon as I saw him behind a shield, I was like, I bet you I could just kill him with Wish Ender. Because I always have a Wish Ender just like leveled. I just pulled it out of my vault and
yeah, I should
shot him
use
with it.
that actually.
Yeah.
I started
So
using
they
Wish
fixed
Ender.
that. You said they fixed.
Yeah, like if you're talking about like
That's funny.
first phase, he kind of like teleports between sides. Second phase,
Yeah.
he's behind that while you're doing all the like lock and key stuff. Yeah, if you don't move and you sit there and like wail on him in that second phase, that was a cheese up until they patched it. a little
Oh,
while
I
ago.
didn't. I didn't not move. I was moving around. I was just damaging him while I was still working on the code.
Oh
I
yeah,
was just like,
either
you know,
yeah, you
Mm.
can't shoot him until that shield is down now.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
That was recent too, E. So they must have patched it really recently because I feel like I did it like a week and a half ago. And
Yeah,
didn't have any
I think it
issues.
honestly could have been the mid-season patch. I feel because I just started working and I put my guide out not that long ago, and yeah, trust me, I tested it. That did not work.
Oh, actually, Ebon, I actually used your guide recently, the one you had for last week for the master story or grandmaster, yeah, the master story for the
Oh,
weekly.
nice.
So I was like, oh,
Oh, I
right,
forgot
Wish
to do
Ender.
that. Is that gone, E?
It rotates weekly, so I mean, you'll have to basically
It'll be
just see
back.
when Breakneck mission comes back.
And if they
Honestly, the
fixed
way
it or
that
not.
is said, honestly, the way that is like the way it happens, it is the weirdest bug. Like the only thing I can imagine how somebody found this is like, oh, it was like they were going through it and they're like, oh, well, I got a little ammo back here. Let me go grab that before I go to the next section. And for some reason, they like got to the Strand point, but no, I'm not going to pick it up. Let me run back and get it. And then they ran back, and then they realized they were gone. I don't know how you would have figured it out because it is like it's the changing zones, like that causes the break. But why you would do that intentionally, like testing it, is weird. So, yeah, it works though in that one mission. It's very bizarre, but you're in master and just can't die.
I tried it with a buddy, and then I went in right after solo, and I was like, "Oh, that was good." For those that don't know, the Breakneck weekly mission had a little glitch where you can go fully invincible after pretty much the first Strand grab, and it's insane. You just have to survive like what, a few champions and like a wyvern. Which,
yeah, like 3 champions and the opening wyverns, which you can pick off from range. So it's like if you can get through the opening little area, you're good. It's the weirdest thing.
Otherwise, did you guys find, I guess, specifically winter bite useful at all? The heavy glaive that now we have.
Well, I think it was
It was
useful
good
for a
for
lot
a
of
while.
people. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
because it was breaking every boss when everybody would fire at the same time. So it was very useful. I don't use it much outside of when people are trying to break stuff, I will say.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very edge casey to me. It's a very interesting weapon. I like that it makes you feel like a wizard. You're like shooting like a spell, you know, and it's like zapping everything around. But I think the flavor is stronger than the actual use. You don't really need a wizard staff in a game where you have guns and rocket launchers and stuff. So
Yeah,
it's just
it
a
is
very odd place.
It is showing an example how I feel the other exotic glaives are even so much worse than we thought. How
Yeah.
good this one feels in comparison to the others.
Because,
Now, granted, I know
'cause-
it's a heavy glaive, but like those other 3 glaives, I'm like, they don't hold a candle to it. And if it's going to
Yeah.
be an exotic, it still should be an exotic.
I feel like exotic glaives should feel like wizard staffs.
Yeah.
That's my vote on that. So I think this does a good job. It's an interesting idea for a weapon. It's not terribly useful, but now there was anarchy when it came out. It was just a good idea with a dream, and then all of a
Idea with a
sudden
dream.
it
And then it
became the
became the-
meta for like a year and a half. So who knows?
And
Who knows, guys?
that would be like an interesting episode. Be like, all right, which like exotics, whether it was or which like pieces of gear in Destiny do you wish Bungie would have never put in the game? And I know Telesto's at the top, but that would be a discussion.
No,
for
I'm
another
glad
day.
Telesto's in the game. It's a
All right.
monument to all of Bungie's sins.
It is, especially if they did the what
I
was
do
it?
appreciate all the memes of just like
Yeah, it's
it's
great.
constantly breaking the game.
Last
Yeah.
what was it? Last season they
The
did a
fact that
whole
they-
just like
they
little
broke the-
special.
They tried to give the gunsmith the Telesto, like and it broke
and
the
it broke
tower.
his enemy.
That's my favorite
Yeah.
part
Oh my
of
God.
that is they tried to
Yeah.
add it to the tower, and Telesto said, "You mock me.
Yeah.
How
no.
dare you?" That was amazing.
It was ridiculous. Next up though, Strand as a subclass. How do we feel about that, James? If you want to go first on this one.
I haven't unlocked all the aspects yet, or whatever the smaller things are.
Fragments.
Fragments.
Yeah.
So I'm still working on that, but so far I've been having a lot of fun with it. Like the class that I mentioned last week that I'm trying to work with is like I use the exotic pants that you get.
Because you're a Titan, right?
Yeah, I play as a Titan, and the exotic leg parts that you get at the end of the campaign, I think it was then, give you a couple more of those like ground wave things that's
The lashes
string
that
people
come
up.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can launch like 3 of those when I put my shield up, and then if I get like precision, I used like fragments, I think, to set up like getting precision shots, refill my class ability really fast. So I could just like string people up and put shields up like all day if I am like doing it right, and it's super fun. And I feel like I could just like shut down a whole crowd of enemies, and that's without even using my like bolo grenade, which just helps a bit more.
Okay. Then Ebontis, how do you feel about it?
I've enjoyed it. I feel compared to Stasis, it came out of the gate much better. Not overtuned, but felt good, strong. It has good utility, surprisingly, because there are times, as you were saying, especially as a Titan, we've got the Drengar's Lash. It's the aspect, so the normal barricade will suspend. And then they've got the ability with the fragments to, as you do damage, you refill your grenades. Then you've got the lash, and then you can, when that goes away, then you can suspend them with a grenade. And then as you're doing damage the whole time, you get your grenade back, and then your class ability is probably back. I've just enjoyed it. I do wish, and I think that is the like a change coming up. Like the grapple is going to have a shorter cooldown, and you're also going to be able to cast it much quicker. I feel like grapple is fun to use until you get into high level content, and then it's pointless.
Yeah.
So it's like it's
You're in
fun
the air and you're
to-
just like, oh my God.
yeah,
think
it's
that's my
fun to
biggest
fly
complaint.
around. Yeah.
Is that like I like how fun the grapple hook feels, but there's not much point to use it.
Yeah, a lot of high level stuff, whether it's like master raids or grandmasters or just anything high level activity. The suspend is a very good function, especially like Titans can abuse that a lot.
And grenades
that's
are
re-
good. That's
yeah,
the main problem
grenades.
with the grapple hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. So it's like in high level content, I've got a grenade that can suspend and just kind of take him out of the equation for a little while, which is really helpful in high level stuff. And what am I going to do with a grapple? Because you can't skip anything in high level stuff. You typically need to go for either a platinum reward or whatever it may be. So the grapple is fun, and I think it actually feels pretty good. The momentum's not bad. I wish there are times where if you weren't in combat, you could just like zip around the game just for fun. And then when you finally get in combat, then the cooldown would just like activate. And I think it'd be fun to be able to like zip around and just kind of have that a little more. But in high level stuff, yeah, the grapple won't be there. But I do think it actually is served pretty well. As for like my subclass, it is still, or the super, sorry, for a Titan super, it is still a roaming super. It's not bad, but there are certain things like a barrier champion. I can do my double slash and I can suspend him up in the air, and then I can wail on like a barrier champion and he's good. Pretty similar to an unstoppable, but an overload, my entire super can't touch it. And that's one of those moments where it is a little frustrating when it's like, can't do anything to one of the 3 champions, so my super is just gonna set that to the side for now. It is still a roaming super. It's a decent one because you've got the range suspend, you've got the pretty quick attacks, but overall I enjoyed it a lot. I would say it came in as a pretty strong subclass, and if we ever get one more after this, which I don't even think we will, honestly, my bet feels like we have 3 and 3 right now. I don't know where they would put another one for this saga, but if they did another one, I feel like this is a pretty good bar to go for.
How about you, Travis?
Yeah, so I think one of the things I said in my review for IGN, where I gave the game a 6 out of 10, when actually in my initial review, my review in progress, I scored it as a 5 of 10 initially. The thing that really stood out to me, and one of the things that brought it up from a 5 out of 10 as my initial reaction to a 6 out of 10, was not really the Root of Nightmares raid. It was the fact that I was wrong about Strand in my initial writings of the review before I had finished it. Which is, Strand is the only reason that people are still playing Lightfall. It's the best thing that the expansion has going for it. It changed up the meta. It added new things for you to care about in the sandbox in terms of guns. You know, we're all going to be grinding for a scout rifle with Strand next week because they're finally adding one with Guardian Games. It added suspend gameplay. Even the grapple hook, as dumb as it is as part of the meta, does have interesting uses in the game. I think they way overhyped up the grapple hook, though. I'm now kind of of the opinion.
Yeah.
I'm now kind of the opinion that maybe they could have made that a Hunter exclusive. Maybe they should have made Titans have a suspend exclusive. I don't know. But yeah, I think the changes to the sandbox and the fact that it has made everything that's old feel new is the saving grace of Lightfall, because the actual new content we got is largely bad. Right, it's like the new campaign is not a fun. People aren't running back to that and doing speed runs and stuff. You know what I mean? They're paying $40 to skip it on their 2 alt characters. So yeah, I think Strand is great. It's it's probably going to be the thing that carries the player base through to the final shape, and it's fun to play as.
All right. Yeah, as
Honestly, I wonder if like they could have made the grapple hook more useful if it had been one of your melees instead of one of your grenades.
I made that suggestion on E's show as well. I suggested that same thing, because losing the grenade is really the reason nobody wants it. But I feel like the melees kind of suck on Strand, so that might not have been a fair trade.
What's the Warlock melee? Because I know you got the throwing dart, which is getting a buff coming up, but you got to work on the timing and everything, and you're not usually paying attention. The Titan melee is got to be close. What's the Warlock one?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything.
Oh, it's like the 3 things that you can shoot. It's like the
that's
3
right. That's right. Yeah.
The only thing
it's like I think everybody would probably trade that to have the option to grapple and then have a grenade.
My proposal would be just take away all the melees and make the grapple hook the only option, because if that were the case, then it would have parity. But I don't think they'll ever do that for obvious reasons, but it would be cool.
Yeah, I was trying to enjoy the grapple while I could, and then once like I started fighting champions a lot more, I was like, okay, this is kind of useless, and just went to suspend, which
it was always kind of useless. I mean, all the encounter, they sort of one of my problems with the campaign, I know we don't go back there, but one of my problems with it is they made all of the levels intentionally have bad design so that they could showcase the grapple hook. Right? Like
that was
the
really
level where it's just a circle and there's that thing following you around the Vex gate, and it's just like, oh, so that you can grapple hook around. It's like, oh god.
Headlong,
and then the Callus fight being a big circle where you had to keep running away. Oh, so you can grapple hook, and it's like, this isn't even genuine. You guys are just putting me in a situation where grapple hook would be useful. And even then, people were like itching to not use Strand for those encounters. At that point in time, it just didn't make sense. And so I think I think the grapple hook was a complete failure on that, and the fact that they had to make their campaign worse to give the grapple hook a role kind of showcases that failing.
Like the functionality of the grapple hook, the way you attach to like midair and like kind of how it feels, not as good as Spider-Man, but I feel like they did a pretty good job within the essence of what Destiny could do with a grapple hook. But as you said, it's like the way they built the levels, what it did to other pieces, the fact that it takes away from a grenade doesn't do the grapple hook justice. But yeah, if you could use the grapple hook a bit more freely in any other way, it is a fun like movement thing. It's just usually it's a trade-off that most people are not going to do.
Yeah. I just want to say real fast, Travis. I said it last week, but just for Headlong, I cracked up because I kept dying on Legend doing that, like just grappling in the air because they'd all just snipe me. And then I went to just do it only, I didn't jump at all, I just stayed on the ground, completed it so fast. And then for Callus, and instead of doing Strand, I just used a Void Hunter and just kept invising. And I was like, this is 20 times better.
Yeah.
So I always thought that
Like,
was hilarious.
If I were designing a campaign where I wanted to include the grapple hook, I would not put you in a circle room and say, well, you have to keep moving, especially when that method doesn't work and kind of has never worked in Destiny, by the way. Snipers have always been kind of stupid in their ability to track you and hit you anyway. But I would have done more like that level, the final level where you're grappling onto the ships to climb up and you're kind of making an ascent. And I think back to like the Red War campaign where, you know, you're ascending the city and then you're going through the last city. If they had made situations like that where you can't normally climb up and you kind of had to grapple at the side of skyscrapers to like work your way up to the top, and you'd think that they would do that in a setting that's filled with skyscrapers, and they don't. They do it one time and it's sort of halfway executed. And if I were doing boss fights, I would make it so that, you know, either the boss is moving around a lot and you have to get to them to trigger a mechanic, and so you have to like grapple to just move quickly, or something where like, you know, Halo 2 or sorry, last mission in Halo, you're running away from something situation where, you know, explosions are happening and the gates are closing and you have to like grapple to get through really quickly or something like that. And I think it was sort of a missed opportunity, which obviously I can't be the only person to have had these ideas. I think it was 100% bandwidth. We have to get this out now because we don't have time to finish the final shape, which we've kind of beaten to death at this point. But yeah, Strand, the fact that it's good, I think is actually more of a result of Witch Queen. We know that they were developing it for Witch Queen.
Yeah.
And we know that everything that made it into the game basically came from Witch Queen, except I would argue Grapple Hook. I think Grapple Hook was the one thing. Grapple Hook might have even been the reason they didn't put it in the Witch Queen. They might have been like, well, it's a good campaign, but Grapple Hook breaks stuff. We have to make this work. And so I feel like they could have just kept that out, maybe added it as an exotic. I don't know. An exotic gives you Grapple Hook instead of a melee or whatever. But yeah, I like Strand, but I think that it was kind of a fluke that it's the best part of Lightfall.
It's funny that you mentioned like it would have been cool to use the Strand grapple hook to like get out of dodge real fast in a scene, because we've literally had at least a handful of scenes in Destiny content previously where it's just like, oh no, shit's going down, we need to get out of here fast.
Yeah.
And it would have been way more fun if you just like grapple hooking.
You had to grapple to get out of it. Like there's only, you know, a few situations. And what's weird is they only have one scene like that in the entire expansion. It's the one where Keitel comes and saves you, and they have you do it on a Sparrow, and you
just get blown up.
You don't have Strand by that point. They don't even give you access to the Strand subclass at that point in the game.
How cool would it have been if even like Rohan or the other one, Nimbus. They're like, Nimbus, hey, grapple onto my board real fast, I'll get you out of here. And you just
that would have been dope, actually.
At a certain point, his board gets shot down, and then you have to grapple between buildings and keep running. Like there's so many good, and I'm certain that they thought of this at Bungie, and they were just like, we don't have time. We have to get this game out. We know it's not going to be our best work. Let's just do with what we can. And it's a lot easier to make a circular room with a couple points to grapple on than it is to do what we're talking about. So hopefully we'll see something like that in the final shape, but I kind of doubt it because I think the moment has passed. The grapple isn't new. People aren't going to be thinking about, oh, well, I should equip that. And it would be weird if I entered a story mission and they were like, you have to have Strand equipped for this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that ship has sailed, unfortunately, but it could have been a big moment, and it sounds like we will probably never get it, unfortunately.
Okay. I still have to do the Titan and Warlock, unfortunately, for the campaign to get Strand for
course
that.
you do.
Yeah,
Of course
so
you
it's gonna
do.
be
Because
oh my
you
God.
don't want to pay $40.
Yeah, I'm
and,
just like, oh my
I had to
God.
do it on all 3 characters for my review, by the way.
My
And it was
condolences.
increasingly not fun.
Hmm.
The third time you do that campaign is like just knowing that Rohan is about to say, see you on the other side before dying. Having that knowledge before he does it makes it hit all the worse.
Oh no.
Just knowing that it's coming, like bracing for it, gritting your teeth and being like, please don't say the most cliched thing I could think of and then die immediately afterward. And then he does it. Yeah.
My ticket's
really not a
punched,
good time.
Guardian. Just
Yeah.
All right. Next up, though, this has been, I guess, one of the bigger things that people were looking forward to is the loadouts that you can save and have all set up and ready to go. I haven't really done too much with it. I've made one so far just because honestly I kept forgetting, and I'm like, oh wait, I
Yeah,
gotta do
same.
this. I made one. The first one I made so far is just like a solar crucible build, and pretty much used like Deadshot and have like No Time to Explain, Fellwinter's Lie, and was it Crime Mutiny, I want to say. And what was the exotic? I think I used Worm, the helmet, the husk for hunters, where you do a dodge and you can get Worm husk, yeah. So that's like my first one I've tried. I want to start building more, but I guess my plan personally, I was trying to think about it because I think you get 10 slots, if I'm correct. And I'm like, oh, if you look through all of the, at least for a hunter, I'm not sure about Warlock and Titan, there's 10 supers. And at first I'm like, what if I did one on each super? And I'm like, no, that's kind of stupid. I'm not going to use some of these ever, probably. So I think I'm like doing like, I looked through and I'm like, okay, I want to do like 3 solar builds, only 1 arc. Whereas like, because I don't think I'll really be using arc staff that often, and instead I'd probably use Gathering Storm for the most part. But then like 3 different void, 1 for each of those supers, 2 strand, 1 for PvE, 1 for PvP. And then for stasis, I haven't really decided yet. I've actually kind of thought about it since they nerfed the hunter squall for PvP. I don't really know if I want to have a stasis PvE or PvP loadout so far, but at least in my plan, that's what I'm probably going to fill out with for my 10 slots is that. But how does everyone else feel for going through and using these loadouts, and if you've used them so far?
I haven't done too much yet, but the first thing that I noticed when I loaded up Destiny after the update was that they not only can you save loadouts, but they have a whole other screen to the right or whatever where you could just look at all your mods at once, and that makes setting up a loadout so much easier. Because I was just expecting it to be like, hey, save what you currently have equipped, and you still have to like look at every piece of armor individually and stuff. I just think it's really nice that they actually tried to make a screen that makes it a lot simpler to just see everything that you have set at once and just like save it or
Yeah.
change it. Super nice.
Also, I almost forgot I think the saving grace for this, the biggest thing, I thought it was going to be like the weapons and armor and everything to get ready for everything else, but I realized it saves the aspects and fragments too. And that is probably the best part, because that's the more intricate of like getting in there and being like, oh, what about this? There's like 5 choices to put in and everything else. So that probably is my favorite part of it now, is just because that saves the most time.
Because I could spend a lot of time just like trying to figure out exactly what kind of subclass I want to set up for each like class now that all of them have fragments and aspects and stuff. So being able to save like up to 10 is really nice, because like you said, you could set up like individual subclasses for like PvE and PvP, and you have like 10 slots to save. So plenty of variation you could set up.
Definitely.
Travis, what about you, man?
Yeah, so I do use loadouts. I've got all of mine configured, and I think they are a great feature that should have been in the game a long time ago, and they are not well executed in their current state. I have a few problems with them. One is you can't send your items back to the vault when you're done using them. They don't return where they came. And so if you actually make use of loadouts and you're pulling stuff from your vault just because you equip it and then it gets added to your inventory fills up really quickly, and then you have to go back to the tower or use a third-party app to send it back to the vault where it came from, which is unfortunate because the whole point of loadouts in the game is that I don't want to have to open a third-party app, and now I still have to. The other thing is that it introduced some critical errors in the game. For example, if Bungie decides that your armor shouldn't be allowed to have 2 of the same perk equipped to it at the same time, and they remove that feature, and then you have a loadout where you already have a piece of armor with 2 of those perks equipped, it will crash your game if you use the
Oh my
loadout.
god,
Oh, I didn't
really?
even know that.
It
That's
will
bad.
literally crash the app, and you'll go back to welcome to Lightfall. You know what I mean? And
Oh
have to
my
play
Oh
that.
god.
no.
And so this happened recently to me because I had multiple finisher modifiers added to my class item. And then when I equipped it, I had no idea that this was a thing. I didn't know that Bungie had patched it. I didn't know why the game was crashing. All I knew was that when I tried to equip a certain loadout, the game would just crash. And the error I got was, you've been disconnected from servers. It wasn't, hey, you tried to do something that our servers didn't like or anything like that. It was just, you've been disconnected. And so I had to hear from a friend, and I'm very connected in Destiny. I have lots of friends who read the TWAB and work at Bungie and blah, blah, blah. I had to learn from a friend that the reason the game was crashing is because I kept trying to equip a loadout with a specific perk that they didn't like. And nowhere in my UI did it tell me I had to change the perk, or did it attempt to help me, yada, yada. And so I cannot imagine being a player who has very little interaction with the Bungie Destiny community, just playing on my own and crashing the game and not knowing why, and having no recourse to figure out why the game was crashing. That's crazy to me. And so I think that this is a 1.0 at best, a beta at worst, and it needs work and it needs optimization. But do I like it as a premise? And do I love that sometimes when I click the button, it does it correctly and I just get to save all the time? I love that. But it's got that issue. The other issue I didn't bring up is that I also like to equip different transmogs on each of my loadouts. I keep the armor the same, but the transmogs are different and their shaders are different on the transmogs. And a lot of times those don't take on one or 2 items. So you'll like switch your armor, and then you'll be like hodgepodge where one's from one set and one's from the other, or the shaders don't match. And it kills me that they allow me to switch to pick all of those, and then it doesn't carry them all over because then I look like I just ran through a dumpster and I've got all these different colors and armor pieces on, and it's really gross. So it's a beta of a feature that I really want to exist in Destiny and be good, but maybe too early for prime time, and definitely not something to get hyped about Lightfall for, because it basically is a unfinished state at present.
Oh boy, I'm excited to see when I make more loadouts what's gonna happen now.
Yeah, right.
Get ready for problems, because it's a great
Oh,
feature in
shit.
practice, and then you try using it and things keep breaking and you're like, God damn it. It's just so frustrating.
How about you, Ebontis?
Yeah, I'm probably closer to Travis than the excitement side of things. It's not bad. Like, that's what Travis said, is like, when you like, okay, I set up a void loadout, cool, set it up, fine. But you have no way to just say, you know, you want to switch some things out. You can't have just a loadout that's like, hey, this is the armor I want to use, or maybe just the weapons you want to swap out real quick for whatever reason. You can't have a partial. It saves everything. Some people literally will like make a loadout with junk weapons and then delete the weapons from their like character. So then when they load in armor, the armor switches, but then it doesn't overwrite the weapons. So the fact that you have to kind of break the game a little bit just to have a loadout that's partially working is one thing. Travis said it as well. It doesn't send anything back. So if you did switch around like a bunch of different things, you're just, you know, all your cargo pants are full at that point of just loadout everywhere. And yeah, I didn't honestly know about Travis's error, so that is kind of one that's surprising, but it's not surprising, honestly, when you think about the, you know, the artifacts and everything else. And I mean, it's a beta, it's a 0.85 somewhere in there, because the appearance system ties those pieces to your armor. But then I'd be like, why did I set up like an appearance look? And then I go choose a new loadout and my guy looks like junk. I'm like, so then you have to set up the appearances again. So it's like your transmog is per piece. And I'm like, it should be per slot. And then the loadouts should be affecting my functionality, my mods, my stats. That can be separate. And maybe that's like the final shape piece that we're going to get a year from now. But yeah, the loadouts should be the function, and then the fashion should be separate. So if I look like I want to look, whatever I'm doing with my mods, armor pieces, different, changing up different stats, my look should never change.
See,
And
I want my
that's-
look to change per loadout. I think you should. So I'm on the opposite side because I want to be able to be like, when I go to trials, my trials armor is coming on and it's going to be in this shader, and I'm going to change all my mods and blah blah blah. But I think the reason you're on the other side is because you have different armor sets for all of those.
Yeah.
I typically use the same armor and I just change the way it looks because I like my stat distribution, and I keep it all the same. And so I think it's different types for different folks, but I think if I'm given what I want, it will in effect work toward what you want, because yours are just going to be separate armor pieces anyway, right?
Probably,
So
yeah.
it just has to work. It just has to,
Yeah.
when you select the loadout and it says, I'm going to change you back exactly to this state, it should just do that. Like if it
Now,
just does the thing it says.
I was
it's
going to
gonna
ask
do.
a question because I'm pretty sure it's like, and it also doesn't change your artifact.
No, it
So
doesn't.
if you
for-
change
yeah,
your
you're right.
artifact and then
You're
you go
right.
to do a loadout, it's going to have this weird, funky error because things cost different. So it doesn't save the artifact. And the artifact, which I think they said they're working on, but yeah, the fact that you have to reset it fully and pick all 12 again, as opposed to turn one off and then turn one on, it's that kind of thing that would help. But yeah, it also should, in essence, change your artifact, because this is my loadout and the artifact is part of it because they have the costs in there. So
Yeah.
if you're going to change the cost of mods, which ties 100% into armor, then you should change up the artifact as well. It's a free cost. That's, again, a bunch of their systems don't quite communicate yet. Like appearance should be a thing. And honestly, Travis, for you, like if you just set up a trials appearance, like they should have like appearance loadouts and the other ones where you could just like, I want to look like trials, bam. I want to look like, Nightfall, bam. And then you can change your functionality how you want. But again, that's something for later.
I'd
But
be okay with that, but I'm also fine with the way that they have it set up now if it worked.
Yeah.
If it worked,
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah.
fine. But the fact that it's the worst of both worlds, where like they say they have it this way and then in effect it's not this way, and it's just
Yeah.
plus all the critical errors it introduces, where it's just like, and it's stupid stuff too. It's not like an error where like I tried to do something illegal or tried to get around the system. It's like I equipped a mod that it was okay last week that Bungie decided is not okay this week, and that causes the game to crash.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, that's like,
and there's no
shocking to
message
me.
for it anywhere. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean,
Which is funny because like
That's-
they frequently have messages pop up when you log into Destiny, like, hey, by the way,
Yeah.
this
Well,
is the thing
sometimes
that's
they also
happening.
pop up
Yeah.
like that fast. They're like, bing, bing. Like if you're
Yeah.
hitting a button or something, you might click
Yeah,
through
that
it.
too.
yeah, I
Yeah.
skip some of those on
You're like, what did it say?
Yeah,
Like, I
I was
don't
like,
need
what's-
to know Trials.
what's coming
Trials
next
is here. I
week?
know.
What
Yeah.
was it?
I'm
Double
pretty-
Vanguard
I'm pretty-
XP? Is that
I'm
what you
pretty
said?
confident.
Exactly.
I'm pretty confident this wasn't that. It was like they announced it in the TWAB. I didn't read
Oh,
the
yeah.
TWAB,
Of
and
course.
then
Yeah.
even if
Could
I
have
did
missed
read the
line
TWAB, I
in the
wouldn't have.
TWAB. Yeah.
Yeah, even if I did read the TWAB, I wouldn't have gone and looked at all of the loadouts for all of my boots and been like, oh,
Yeah.
that breaks the rule that they just are
Yeah.
protected against. So it's silly.
Yeah. I even had
Little
a
stuff
friend
like that,
last.
and then the artifacts was my other thing. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I had a friend last night. I even actually bring up the whole artifact, like, oh, how come that's not in the loadouts? And my only thought was like, dude, I'm pretty sure if they did that and then the next season came with the new artifact, everything would just break. It'd be over.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like after you mentioned, like if a thing is deemed like you can't do this anymore, and then like the next season comes around and your seasonal mods are literally gone. Does that break the system again?
I think all of the loadouts are going to break every single season until they change something about the
Yeah.
Fun.
loadouts.
It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting because I feel like they're going to do at least a small update for it when Season of the Deep comes out. They'll be like, oh, with this season, blah, blah, and they're going to keep tuning it each season as it goes. I don't know if they'll do it mid-season or anything like that, like do multiple, but at the very least, they can at least do like a seasonal change until they get it.
Can I ask
Good.
you guys a random tangent?
Yeah.
Sure.
Mostly I want to ask Travis. Because I don't know if I've ever picked your brain on this one, but maybe I have. When it comes to the artifact in and of itself, we have a mod on there that messes with ammo economy. We also have scavengers, reserves, ammo finders, all of those pieces. Does it bother you at all? Because I mean, as a reviewer and things like that, you've played, pretty big breadth of games, probably more than most people. Does it bother you that like there's literally 4 different ways for you to affect your own economy of ammo? And
Yeah.
theoretically, it's like it's a choice of ammo on the artifact. There's 3 different mod slots that I can use. I was messing with this because I was going around and I was like, oh, I'm gonna hit a rally flag. So before because this is when I was doing my solo build for Avalon, I was like, all right, I'm gonna load up on ammo. So I'm gonna switch over to my chest piece that has triple reserves for my heavy, hit the rally flag, and then switch back because my ammo wasn't like locked in. And I just was curious from all of you guys, but I was just gonna pass it to Travis first. Does the ammo economy ever just like, and the fact that now it's like in the artifact as well, does it ever just annoy the living crap out of you, or is that just like a me thing because I'm more solo most of the time? Or is it like, can you just have the ammo drop at a rate that you find reasonable, the reserves for the guns that you find reasonable, and then, because I feel like a lot of the mods at that point are just bloat, and they're not actually like, it's not a build. I'm like, let me make sure I get ammo to drop is like half of my build sometimes. Just a random question since we were talking about loadouts. Like, do you feel like loadouts are wasted?
You're certainly not the only person to have this complaint, and I share the complaint with you. So, as you know, I complain about the economies in Destiny a great deal, including the ammo economy, which I have actually always thought is bad. I think it was bad in Destiny 1. I think it's been bad in every iteration of Destiny 2.
What do you mean? We had the ammo synths.
That's
you can
exactly
have as much
why
ammo
it was
as you
bad.
wanted.
That's the problem.
That's exactly why it was bad. Any game that says, hey, you know how you get more ammo in this first-person action game is you press pause, you go to the inventory, you wait for that to load, you hold down X for a certain amount of time, and then you keep track of an invisible timer until you can do it again. I say to you, please, God, no. And so there are certain things in games you want players to be able to engage with and impact. Sliders that they should be able to control in effect and take kind of those checks and balances. And I think some of those maybe are like, you know, how much damage you can take before dying, right? That's like a slider where higher skill players will want to turn that slider up if they get certain advantages, like maybe they can do more damage if they take more damage from enemies or something like that. And those are interesting kind of decisions that base player to player. And there's some that should not be influenced by players. They should be tuned by developers to fit whatever game design kind of flow that they want. And one of those is ammo economy. Ammo economy is not something like reload speed where it's just annoying. It actually completely changes the way you play the game, and it changes the balance of said game based on how much ammo you have. If you have a lot of ammo, access to a lot of power ammo, then it makes heavy weapons much better than any other option you have in the battlefield. If you can use Thunderlord as your primary ammo, you do not need any of the other guns in the game. Like you don't need auto rifles or scout rifles or whatever. You can just use that. And so I think they should probably consider which sliders they want players to be involved with and which ones they want to be curated to make the player have a good time. And ammo economy, to me, has been one of those that's always been a developer slider. Do not make it a thing I have to think about as a player, because frankly, as a player, it's too much power. I'm always going to be optimizing for ammo economy because it's one of the most important things in the game. And it amazes me how many sliders they have publicly viewable to the player that are completely useless, whether it's mobility, right? It's like a slider you can control that does effectively nothing, that almost no players care about maximizing.
High skill PvP, that's literally it. But
and then they've got other sliders that shouldn't be facing toward the player, that players spend all their time investing in, like ammo economy. And that to me is bad game design. It's one of the reasons that Destiny is a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, it definitely, for me, it just feels a little bit boring to set up a subclass or a all your mods and stuff, because instead of building like towards what abilities I want to use and stuff like that, I'm just kind of working a subclass or a loadout around what weapons I'm using, which anyone can use those weapons.
You're optimizing your loadout around making the game feel good rather than making your build cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't really get to shoot it for a lot of the high difficulty like modes and everything else. It's not about what you want to run, it's what you have to run for the most part.
My resilience has to be 100 if I do grandmasters.
You can't experiment, you can't go crazy with anything.
What interesting player options am I getting out of that? You know, it's crazy to me.
I do think it's oversaturated with just the amount of different ones you go through, and I feel like for the casual player, someone that just like a new light player comes in, he's like, why or there's so many different options. I'm so confused. Like that's going to confuse people
Mhm.
if they're a lot more simplistic in the game. And I think like it definitely needs that change. I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but I already forgot what it was. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Oh, now I remember. It's like that whole thing of like when you would go to you before any mission, you'd be like, guys, wait. I got to take us to the trophy room so we can click on
Yeah.
the ammo
Oh, can
and
you
then
load
go.
into every activity with full ammo? I swear, when I start Avalon, I should not start with 116 bullets in my retrofit escapade. I'm like, I just left my ship. This ammo is all
Yeah.
digital boxes anyway. It's like if I start any reasonable activity, full ammo. I don't know why that is not you do it in Grandmasters. Like I know you do it there, but why you don't do it in not all things? I don't know.
Because it's role playing, okay? Can't just get ammo out of
If
nowhere.
I roleplayed, I'd roleplay
trying to
with
be
full ammo.
realistic.
Go in there.
Trying to be
You want to know what
realistic.
my role playing is? I got to go find an arbitrary rally flag at an arbitrary point for a public event.
That's right.
Go touch the rally flag, and then I can go back to the activity.
That's
with full ammo.
realistic. Get with the program.
Anyway, sorry for the tangent, but
No, you're good. That was a good one. Next thing, the UI change. This came with a lot of UI change, and I cracked up because there was actually some people kept asking me, and I think this is the funniest thing. I'm like thinking like, oh, it's gonna be where all the triumphs are being relocated and how they worked out that. And the big question I kept hearing was, yo, where do I see my glimmer? I don't see my glimmer anymore. I'm like, you gotta go to your inventory now. It's not above your character anymore. That was like the biggest like what happened here? I think is hilarious, but all the items, like all little like I guess usage type things are now in the inventory, your currencies and everything else, even though some, I forget which ones it was, but I mean like certain ones still don't show you, like I guess they changed it for shaping, but before they changed all the shaping, there was straight up like, where do I see this? How do I see this little thing?
oh, that
You couldn't see it. You had to go to the enclave to see all of your crafting materials.
Well, you had that one thing that you
reason.
would pick up from the enclave that was in your inventory that would
That
show
was-
you.
that was added later.
Yeah,
I know.
That was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
with the little
yeah.
like, oh, you have your full 10,000. Keep wasting your red borders.
Keep
when
in
you
mind,
use them.
they were originally planning on giving us 50 different
I know.
currencies.
Oh my
Holy
God.
shit!
Do you guys know about that?
No.
No.
They were planning on their original plan,
It's
which
like
is
one per perk, right?
They were planning on having one currency per perk type. So if you wanted to add kill clip to your weapon, you'd need to get the kill clip crafting currency to a sufficient number and then spend it to add kill clip to your weapon. And I joked before crafting was introduced into Destiny on Ebontis' show that they were going to do something like that. And
Oh my
everyone
God.
laughed at me. They were like, Travis, they would never add 50 currencies to the game. And then after crafting came out,
It came out. and I
they
was like,
came
oh.
out and said that was the original plan
Yeah.
on a TWAB. And I was like, bro, they tried it. And the reason they didn't do it wasn't because they thought it was a bad gameplay
It was
choice, by the way.
technically
It was a
difficult.
technical obstacle that they couldn't add that many currencies to the game.
I would have loved it if they had like a miniature expansion that was just called like Economics 101. And they're like, all right, here's another class you could go through and learn this stuff. It'll be great for the game.
For a
Right,
new
yeah.
player, that's basically what you need.
Yeah.
I mean, how many videos have I seen? I've made multiple myself. How to get each currency, like how to farm golf balls and ascendant alloy and prisms and enhancement cores, and why a shard is bigger than a core. I don't know, but that's a whole different nuance.
Do you know what the golf ball's called in the game?
ascendant shard? Yeah.
Okay, he actually does know. Some people I've noticed just call it golf balls now and have forgotten its original name.
No.
So I just
Well,
I
you have,
never
like-
heard it called a golf ball. That's
You
hilarious.
have enhancement
it's
core.
that's
Yeah.
what they look like.
So you have an enhancement core, which a picture would be 1 unit. You have a prism, which they actually feel like the icon fits. And then you have an ascendant shard. And the shard does not resemble the name at all. The shard should be the icon for
It's
the
like
other
a-
one.
It's like a core.
Yeah, I always thought that
It's-
looked weird.
Well,
that
it's
they
like, no,
called
the
it a
enhancement
shard.
core and the ascendant shard should swap icons. Make
Exactly.
it yellow.
It,
Yeah,
it
that makes
looks like
sense.
a core because it's a circle. It looks like it's like the
Right.
middle of the
Yeah, it's like a nucleus or the middle of something, and you're
Yeah,
like,
that's
because
really
they
weird.
came up with the idea enhancement core way before they came up
Oh,
with the
yeah.
prisms or the other
I
stuff
know.
because those were added to the game a long time ago, and I think they had a different image associated with them. Yeah, just
yeah,
game is just
yeah. It's like this is
improvised its way.
yeah. When
into
you're
where
talking
it's
about
at right now.
yeah, when you're talking about the UI, still sometimes looking for things Like Catalyst, I know everything kind of moved over to one page. You've got like
Yeah.
the journey and the Guardian ranks, which is, I guess that's part of UI or something. The Guardian
no,
ranks, the
yeah.
commendations, that is mostly a mess. They're changing a decent amount.
Yeah.
That Guardian ranks should never have been tied to progression. I mean, that's been very obvious for the past like 6, 7, 8 weeks, however long
Yeah,
it's
I
been.
don't
Now,
think
like
anyone likes
day
that system.
one, day one, literally everybody's like, why is this tied to progression? So, but yeah, it's like the fact that I do have to go to inventory to check currency, and I'm going, what? First off, why? Because those couple currencies that were up there, and then the other piece is, if you're going to put those currencies up there, like legendary shards, why not put ascended shards? Why not put golf balls? Why not put some of those up there where you can list them? The currency caps, that's a debate for a whole other podcast. So we all hate those. I know that. But like, if you're going to have ascended shards, you're going to have ascended prisms, or enhancement prisms. Yeah. If you get confused, don't worry. So am I. And all those, like, you're going to put little icons up there on the inventory page. Fine. Take them out of there and then put them, if you're going to do that, move them there. But it's like, now have two sets of currencies you're looking at literally on the same page. And I wonder, is it because the inventory, I need like my development resource, like, is it a system thing where you're like facing technical issues? They wanted to move those icons off of there, so it's more about the inventory. I always wonder what technical hurdles that they're facing on the back end. And it may not be a thing. Maybe they're just like, hey, let's put all of your currencies over here. I'm like, in what other game do I hit I for inventory and I cannot see how much gold I have? Gold Clemmo,
Right.
whatever you want to call it. That is literally like right there, first thing. It's not on like one page over. It's not buried in the corner of that other
gold. It's the least important currency in the game. I think
I mean, you got to spend 20,000 glimmer now to craft a weapon. It's
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
but-
like all of a
but
sudden incredibly
when is
low on
that a
glimmer,
threshold?
like
Like,
I'm
perpetually.
using
at
it
this
for
point.
everything.
legendary shards is way more important to the average player, and I mean, they could take silver off of that damn thing, but you know, it's
yeah.
I
was like, I don't know. For me, the UI is, I'm okay with like some of the changes. The functionality behind the changes, I still have questions about. And as for the Guardian ranks and Journey, somebody else can take that. But yeah, that I still have questions how that was what got pushed out the door for the first time. Not a game dev, but again, first glance at some things, when the community agrees on something pretty wholeheartedly, that's when you know it's like, how did it make it out the door? Feels like a little more reasonable of a question.
Yeah.
So that's more kind of where I'm at. I'll let somebody else take some of the other pieces, but yeah.
I would describe the UI as, it went from being the gold standard for UIs in video games, which I would argue it was when it came out in 2014. It was like, we'd never seen anything like that before. Now every game copies Destiny's original UI or some version of it, and it was great. To being a catastrophe. I think we're currently at a catastrophic UI level. And I don't buy the technical issues or whatever it is that sometimes people espouse about the UI. And here's why. Eververse has a tab. Every item that's ever been on Eververse is in the main menu. You can find it wherever you are. Strikes, Crucible, whatever. If you need that Eververse hit, we got you, buddy, right here. And guess what? You can even make purchases from it, and it connects to the PlayStation Store. And oh man, you can just buy it right here. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, they made sure that worked.
They made sure that all worked perfectly. And so I do not buy the whole real estate argument. There's not enough space for it. There's not enough, processing power for the menu. It's bullshit. The reason the menu is bad is because they took a good idea and they kept adding on to it until it was a bloated corpse. And I think that that's the reason that a lot of people are frustrated by the current state of the menu. The inventory screen used to be one screen you could tab over to. Now it's got 3 boxes that you have to switch between, and it's really unclear how you do that. The fact that they added the new Guardian rank system, and there's only one place to find it. It's not on its own tab. It's a little box in the corner on an existing page, is crazy. The fact that the game didn't originally ship with a quest menu, added later, even though Destiny 1 had one, they took it out of the game for Destiny 2 for some reason, and then added it back in.
Mhm.
That is a huge part of it. The fact that triumphs and lore tabs and catalysts and all of these other things have been added over the year and have had to find a home in the menu is part of why it looks so bad. And seals, Oh my god, I can't even talk
Dude,
about
that
how
one's
bad the
insane.
seals menu is.
There's so many seals
So
now.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
all of the
so-
old ones I've got, I'm like,
It is the most confusing menu in the game, the seals menu, and which ones that you can earn and can't earn, and then something's blinking, and you're like, why is it blinking?
One is
what do I have
still
to-
my
Yeah.
seal. Okay, my seals
Guardian Games is blinking right now because
are
it's
blinking,
broken.
and yeah, it's broken.
That's why.
It's a-
Oh, wait,
Oh,
it has.
so-
Is that why it's been
That's
perpetually
why it's blinking.
blinking?
Yeah, because
Oh
you
my
completed,
god!
you completed it's because you completed a Guardians Games thing already
Medal, I
before the
think,
event
yeah.
started, and so you have to go and claim it, and so that's why it's blinking at you.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's very annoying. So I just think that they've tried in the past to simplify their menus. They tried it with Destiny 2. Remember, we didn't even have a quest tab. You just held LT and it scrolled over the director with a bunch of challenges for you to complete.
Yes.
And I think that players have always slapped them in the backs of the hands whenever they've tried to do it because they want their game to be more complex, not less. They want their game to be more chunky, not less. And I think typically a extremely complex game does not typically mix with a very friendly UX or UI. And I don't know if there's a solution to this. There's certainly optimizations they can make, but if they wanted the UI to look clean at this point, they would have to have a page with 18 tabs on it. And they already have 2 separate menus that each has like 6 tabs. So I don't think that they're ever going to be able to consolidate that in a way that makes any sense to the players. And I think that's just comes with, I mean, have you seen WoW's UI?
No.
Not for a
terrible.
while. I was always asleep when I played it, to be honest.
Yeah. It's terrible because that game is enormous and it's got a million
Yeah.
things in it. And so that's,
Oh, that makes sense.
I think that's the doom of the Destiny's going to fall to. The longer it's around, the more things they add. Unless they remove other stuff, it's going to be unintuitive. And I think that's just the price we pay.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I think
the
like
final shape describes the menus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like one of the things that confused me was when you do the commendations. At first I didn't get that you could just like in the very beginning, I didn't get that you couldn't just go to the right to this full scoreboard and just go down the line there and just go boom, 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 boom. And then like in the beginning, it just shows all the different players and you have to like scroll right to their name and like look at that little piece and you have like, here, you have 15 seconds, quick, see what you can do. And you're like, oh shit. Like if you don't realize you could just go like tab over next thing and then get it done, like that was very annoying realization in the first. I didn't figure out until like maybe like the 3rd week or something, because I didn't really pay attention to it because I was so focused on like hovering over there because of the time limit. So that was another issue. But I think you put perfectly over the UI everything, even more stuff
Yeah.
I didn't really think about. I was like, oh fuck, it's worse than I thought.
You guys
I guess
bad.
for me, it's just like a little bit cluttered now, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, it takes a little bit while for me to find things, and like, yeah, definitely the glimmer thing. Like the first time I wanted to actually check my glimmer after Lightfall came out, I was just like, am I crazy? Like, where did my glimmer
And
go?
keep in mind, we're the experts on this game.
Yeah,
Imagine being a nobody trying Destiny for the first time and not understanding what glimmer is, not understanding the difference between the director menu and the character menu, not understanding that they have to tab over to inventory. I wouldn't know where to find anything. I wouldn't play this
Yeah.
game if I started today. I would play it for about an hour and then I would be like, I hate everything about this, and I'd log off. You know?
yeah, this is a little much. Not right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Other than that, I think we are getting close. We just have the raid and then just a little bit of the seasonal story and activity for Defiance. But for the raid, James, did you do it? Did you do
No,
it,
I
James?
still haven't done the raid.
God damn you!
I know basically what happens in it, and it sounds super cool though.
Yeah,
It does sound cool.
it's I just want to say really fast. When I first played it, I wasn't really.
My shutter opened.
I'm not sure what to. Oh, that's why it got hella bright.
Yeah.
You're like, I didn't play it, and God came in and said, You didn't do what?
It's just like, oh no, Nezarac's coming for me.
I wasn't expecting it to be so short. It's really fast. It's like ridiculously.
Oh yeah,
fast.
I do remember hearing that after like the day 1 race. It was done in like what, like 10
It was
hours?
a 2-hour day 1,
Yeah.
I think.
Oh,
Right?
Oh, that was
sub 3.
I
Sub 3
did it
day
on
one,
the
I
day
think, yeah.
1, and normally day 1 for me, if I finish it, it'll take me like 13 hours, and I'm just like up until 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh my god, why am I doing this to myself and whatever. I couldn't start it because I had to do IGN stuff that day. So I ended up starting the raid at like 6:30, and we were done by midnight. And I
Dang.
did it blind, challenge mode. It
That
was
is-
just like, it was just, you know, it was like a very, it's not that it's short, it's that it's, you almost immediately enter the room and know how to do it mechanically. None of the mechanics are a huge surprise to you. There's a couple hitches here and there where you're like, oh, that's interesting. But like usually you get into a room and you're like, all right, I get it. Like I just have to kill things
Yeah.
and figure that
Third
out.
encounter is the mechanics biggest one for sure.
Third encounter has a little bit of mechanics, but everything else, like after the first encounter, they do a great job of explaining the core seed gardening mechanic of that raid, and then once you know that, everything else you're kind of like, I kind of get how this is gonna go. Like that, and it also annoys me that the parts that are long about the raid are not the fun parts. There's a
It's
ton
getting
of walking.
between everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
Walking. That raid has so much walking, and then it puts 2 hallways with the same puzzle mechanics for no reason. It provides no challenge. It has no enemies you have to fight during it. It's literally just, here's 2 hallways where you have to do the garden mechanic to buy us 5 minutes of raid time. That's
Oh
it.
no.
It's
Yeah.
so bad. It's
And then there's
so
the
bad.
whole like,
Yeah.
hey, you better watch out, get to this spot within the time limit, or else the little thing is going to go off, and you're going to go.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that one's not bad because
Throbbing. Yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
ended up calling it.
that's the typical jumping puzzle, which have always kind of been filler in raids, but they're fun filler, you know. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with like, I'm walking down a nondescript hallway. I'm going up a random staircase. I'm standing in the hallway doing the gardening mechanic for God knows why for the second time in the same raid.
It's like
That stuff. Why? I just don't.
It's
get
like
it.
somebody built the raid level design is very aesthetically really cool. I love the look of the raid aesthetically. You've got the gardener and you've got like the kind of stuff that kind of grows and curves throughout. But yeah, the fact that I'm walking across these like celestial gardening like leaves and stuff, but they're ginormous, takes a while to get where you're going. So yeah, the walking between, yeah, there's no point for the second one puzzle in there that you get to the here's this thing and then get the darkness buff, and here's this thing, and they're trying to like hammer in your head what to do before you get to the final boss to be like, this is how you get the safety buff thing. So they're trying to do that to get you ready for the mechanic for the final thing. But yeah, it's just, it is so, you get to the bottom and I'm like, you have to like get your buff to survive so many different times to go through there. Yeah, it's just very, very lengthy. As for like the encounters, the first one, yeah, it's like contest. We spent a decent amount of time on, I think, planets or Nezarec, and then we woke up like the next day and like knocked it out once we just got some sleep when we were fresh. So I think you got it before us, like, because you did in like 6 hours and you were done. We tried it for about 13, but then still contest was on for 48. So we're like, all right, we're gonna get some sleep. Got up at like 11, turned it on, like done in an hour. So it was like we knocked it out once we just like slept on it. It was so weird because feeling underleveled on Neomuna was challenging. Like everything was basically threatening. And it was just weird because I went in there with Void loadout. Void felt good. Volatile Flow was on. I had my retrofit escapade. But the way things were dying felt like a patrol. For whatever reason, like a lot of the base level enemies did not put up much of a fight. They were squishier than I thought they were going to be because Val, when we did contest, we got Rolk down to like a sliver. We didn't get him in contest. Still annoyed about that, but we got him close. So it was like we understood the whole thing. But when it came to how much effort you had to put in on the third section where you're trying to do where you're kind of talking to each other and bouncing back and forth a little bit, the enemies there felt just a little bit harder. Not too much, but it felt like Val, I think contest wise felt really good. This one, for difficulty wise, when Neomuna Patrol felt harder than the contest raid, I think that's where somehow, I don't want them to just like kill me like Dark Souls. Like it doesn't have to be quite that crazy, but it's like somehow the balancing missed. And I don't know how on a raid that happened, but it's weird how it did to me because it was like, once we knew the mechanics, it was just like the man cannons. Oh my God, the second encounter. Like the unreliable man cannon. When we have things that already, I mean, you have campaign missions where literally you're just like traveling along this like floating path that like takes your character, grab character, move position, go through space, and then plop you here. And the fact that you have a main cannon that just like physics you off into the wall, down, up, sideways, all over the place. The unreliable nature of the main cannons probably, I don't know. That's another one where I'm like, I know the raid test team got used to it, and I've run the jumping back and forth, and it's fine. But it's like, it is unreliable. When 3 of you stand there and you're like, all right, everybody's ready, everybody's jumped up, you shoot the switch, and 2 of you get shot just like sideways and off, and you don't go up to the next level, and you're like, okay, well, yeah, that's not our fault. Like, we stood where we're supposed to, we backed up against it and hit fire, and it just shoves you off to the side. The main cannons were probably one of the most annoying things because it wasn't your fault. And I think I don't mind something that's like, hey, it's a skill thing. Like there was a frog boss in like, there's a frog that kicked my ass in Jedi Survivor. And for whatever reason, he just like, had my number. Yeah. He had my number. I finally figured it out. I finally got him, but it just like took a while. And then I'm like, I was like, it clicks. And I was like, once you get the mechanics of the fights in, like, then the game shouldn't be working against you. If I get the mechanics, that shouldn't be what works against me. But if I stand here and I shoot the thing and it's like, oh, no, I didn't quite make it, I feel like that's where it comes to, that's an issue. It's like everybody's like, you had the Halo main cannons. Those suckers were like perfect. They've had, they can control your position if you use
you
this
were on
thing.
Rails with those. So
yeah. So it's like they've done it. And I feel like this is the first time something like that has been, 1, in a raid, and 2, broken enough that it was frustrating for me. So that was, but yeah, the walking between it was way too long. Travis absolutely nailed that because I just ran it again this week after I hadn't run it in a couple weeks I was like sick, and then like I was on vacation.
I've been running it every week, so it's on my mind.
Oh, I know. But I was like, I came back and those were like trogging along, and I'm like, these are really far apart. Like you have to go a long from that first part to the second, the first encounter to the second encounter. You're like, it's really far away, and there's just a few spattered enemies throughout. And I'm like, that's really pretty to look at, but I don't need to like go all the way over there. Like I can look at a shorter amount of this, I feel.
Yeah.
But it's like it's very pretty, aesthetically is cool. I really like that. But yeah, the main cannons are annoying. I will say the third room though, when you walk in it, that is a very well done moment. Playing back to a cinematic, walking in and seeing that cinematic moment actually show up and you're about to fight this encounter, I was like, okay. And that's probably one of my favorite parts about the raid, is that part, because you've got some enemy management, you've got some good mechanics in there. The boss is a really short damage phase, so I still don't know if we're doing something wrong or if he's just got a short phase, but that part is probably my favorite part because of because of the communication. It feels like a good raid encounter in there. It feels like there's mechanics, team coordination, different people, different roles. I kind of like that one.
I think it was from a different activity and they put it into this raid when it wasn't supposed to be.
Well,
actually doesn't share any mechanics with the rest of the raid.
That is one of those weird moments.
No mechanics. Aesthetically, it seems like it didn't take place in the Root of Nightmares area. It looks like it just is it was supposed to be a pyramid ship. It involved the Witness. Maybe it was supposed to be in the Final Shape or even a Witness related fight, because it's the room where you first see the Witness in during the cutscene, importantly. And involves, this planet swapping mechanic. I would not be surprised if we did a different raid or dungeon that had the planet swapping mechanic, and this was supposed to be from that. Okay. Honestly, I really do feel that it's so out of place for the rest of the raid. It feels like a stop in the middle, and it's in a weird part of the raid. And the boss is a nondescript
Cabal dude.
Yeah,
it is Cabal.
That I don't think was supposed to be the original enemy either. So that's just been my theory on this one.
There was like really doesn't feel like there was leaked concept art a while ago that I saw for this raid. I'm trying to find it while you guys talk. And I was gonna see what it looked like.
I would love to see if it's in the leaked concept art. But even if it is, I mean, by the point where they were developing this raid, I feel like they had already decided to delay whatever. And it just feels to me like it wasn't supposed to be part of this raid, but we'll see.
Did they ever explain why the Cabal follow Nezarek there? Like why they're working?
They don't explain why the Cabal are still fighting for them, or why they're kidnapping humans and for what purpose, and the seasonal content. I don't think we have any idea what I think they're gonna hand wave it and be like, darkness. They gave into the darkness, y'all. They're bad now.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, because it's funny, you listen to like a Bife video of just like, Nezrek and the witness, they don't get along. You're like, oh, okay. And then you're looking at the Cabal and you're like, you guys just kind of didn't try, did you? You just gave up on the story there. I don't know what you did, but okay. I liked it for the most part, especially the boss encounter is probably what I enjoyed the most. I haven't gotten all of it down yet so far. I honestly haven't played the raid too much. I've only played it maybe like 3 times, if I'm gonna be honest, and I need to get into it a lot more. I feel like after Deepstone and Vault, everything kind of like minimalized for me just because I got caught up in other shit. So there's a lot of like, I haven't done the seal for King's Fall for Vow to Disciple Lore for this yet, and I'm just like, oh shit, I really got to get on it. But yeah, I think Nezrek himself was cool. I like that he's just like overcharged tormentor type looking dude, because I guess the tormentors are supposed to be in his image, I assume,
Or
maybe.
because lazy reskinning. One of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of those.
I do like the idea that he's like accidentally resurrected by the Traveler.
It's weird to say it, I don't know, but he reminds me a little bit of the devil from Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny.
A little bit. Just get like the big red skin.
He's kind of,
yeah.
I mean, just his personality and voice of just like, you are fucked and all this shit, and he's just like all this crap, and you're like, oh no, we accidentally, Nezrek's out here now, boys, we gotta take this boy out. But yeah, no, it just feels weird. But that, I don't know why he reminds me of him. He just does. But I feel like, okay, that's the raid. Getting into Season of Defiance, which we already talked about, Excalibur. It has I felt this is where it weirded me out for a second. So you go through Lightfall campaign, and I'm just like, fuck, this sucked. And I get to Season of Defiance, and like you get the first cutscene and everything. I'm like, oh, this is kind of better. I like where we're going here. Like, this is actually pretty interesting. You got Mara doing all this stuff with her Tekkens. You got the farm here, Crow and Amanda doing some stuff. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. And then like you get to week 3, and I'm like, yeah, are we doing anything? Like, this kind of just
yeah.
It's hello, Vault Dweller. A settlement is in need of your assistance today. It's like, what's his face from fucking Fallout 4? And I'm like, oh, okay, we're just gonna go rescue the people from the thing again. And then you get to the fabled Amanda, no, and we're just like, oh no. Anyway, and just like I just didn't care. I didn't care by the end of it, and I'm like, that's it. That's what we got. This is what we went to. We strong start to just that finish. Okay, I guess that's it then.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. Like, I thought it started strong because like I think Queen Mara is a really interesting character, and her being like, you are my new Queen's Guard, just like you're an Iron Lord, but that doesn't matter or mean anything. But like after the whole like swearing you in thing, it just that she didn't seem to matter at all. It's just she's somehow giving you the power to traverse the astral plane, which we've done before. And then
She's
yeah,
just
like
there to appeal to the thirsty players of Destiny.
I guess
That's really all it is.
So just like it seemed like at the end of the season, it all boiled down to some of Callus's units are still behind around Earth and other places and taking like prisoners for some reason. I don't think we learn why. And then yeah, we get revenge for Amanda by destroying the apparently flagship in the sky that I didn't even notice was like a particularly
It wasn't
big
Callus's flagship. It was basically his like, here's my backup
flagship,
a
nondescript,
flagship.
important ship.
Yeah, so like at the end of the season, I was like, what we didn't really do much except lose a sort of not even an important character, but just like well-liked character. I don't know, it was weird.
Kind of, yeah.
I did like that she had the 4th horseman though, or wait, no, the chaperone.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole thing, is that's always been her gun. Like, you can
it's her
see in
family gun.
Season of the Splicers cutscene when her and Zavala show up. But like, I thought like,
but like,
it's funny because it's like, we'll show them, and you like destroy the flagship. Meanwhile, there's like the entire fleet of pyramid ships still up there. And I'm like,
I was just like, did we really do anything?
Was
useful?
this supposed to be? Was this supposed to mean something to us? It's like, oh, we killed all the goblins in Moria. No way. Oh, Sauron's still got his orc army coming to Minas Tirith. Good job, idiot.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we lost the Traveler, we lost against the Witness, we lost on Neomuna, but hey, we beat this ship.
Yeah,
How
the
about
Witness
that?
gave the Traveler ecstasy. It's over now. But
Uh,
what do you guys think about all this fun story that we got in this?
You want to go?
Yeah. You and I have talked about this so much.
Yeah, we kind of beat this one to death a
yeah.
little bit.
It's a bad season. It's a bad season, and they had to spoil how Lightfall ends to get it, because
oh, you're right.
I knew as soon as they announced what the season was, they basically admitted that like we weren't gonna like lose badly to the Witness. The tower wasn't gonna destroy, because the entire premise is you're defending Earth. And I was like, great. Good job, guys. Now I know how Lightfall ends. I still have the theory that they killed Amanda Holiday because they felt like they had to, because it looks like she dies in the opening cutscene, and the average gamer of Destiny doesn't play the seasonal content, and so they have to be dead by the time, you know, the final shape happens. And so they had to find a way to kill her off, since it looked like she was already dead. And I think that they thought that that would be a good central piece for an entire season, and so they were like, well, to make this season about the death of Amanda, because that happens in that cutscene, and it shows sloppy work. It's a bad activity. They don't explain why the Cabal are kidnapping humans. I think it's a fetish, personally. And it's I don't like it. It's bad, and the fact that it was 4 or 5 weeks is really its only redeeming quality, because at least they didn't make me grind that activity offensively, so I at least appreciate that. But yeah, I'm not down with the season, and I'm glad it's over.
I think like the only mission that I actually really thought was interesting was when you go from like the EDZ to like space by just walking. It's just like, wait, how are you doing that? Don't worry about it. Astral science.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they bring back the astral plane. I thought I mean, now Travis fucked up my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, you got to go to the DeviantArt to get the rest of the story to the fucking Cabal kidnapping the humans.
That's literally
oh
what it's gonna come down to. It's gonna be fanfic of like, you know, Cabal. You know, what were the bathers from?
Oh my god!
No!
Yeah.
Just Marisov's like, I knight thee, Sir Paul McCartney of my Queen's Guard. Yes, that's what I wanted. But no, God, it was so. I feel like the only stuff I really enjoyed was just some of the banter between Crow and Mara, and that was about it.
Yeah.
That was like a small underlining thing that you're kind of seeing, like the whole. I mean, it's like the full like 2-year story of just kind of watching Crow, more or less, and the investment in that.
I keep forgetting that Savathun literally gave him back all his memories, so he does remember everything with Mara. So it makes it more interesting when he's like,
remembers me shooting him in the face.
Yeah.
Like, you. He did. He goes
that could have been Petra. You don't know.
He's like, I need a moment, guardian.
Is they can't write that because they left it open to the player interpretation. So Crow can never be like, you're the one who shot me, or it was Petra. They have to, you know what I mean? Unless they want to canonize it later, which I don't think they will.
We both shot him at the same time. Yeah.
For me, this season, just unfortunate timing wise, but made the lines hit harder was Lance Riddick. Like the times where Zavala was standing over her like grave, going through like saying his kind of little mini monologue he had the following week afterwards, kind of doing a eulogy for her. Those were really well delivered and hit way harder than they were like ever going to, because we lost Lance Riddick way too early.
The fact that we could hear his voice was more than really the big thing there. Do we? I mean, that's what I'm wondering.
Fan of Fireteam Chat, Lance Riddick, former guest.
Oh, he was on the show? That's so cool.
Yeah, he was on the show. We interviewed him for an episode, so
it also felt weird watching like John Wick 4 as well at the same time, because like all these, you have him in there too.
Especially what happens to him. I was like, that's in poor taste.
Yeah,
come on, guys.
I was like, well, he's not going to be in the next one.
But I'm wondering, I guess, if he recorded if he recorded any lines for the next couple seasons or anything.
They did mention somewhere that they have like some lines for upcoming content, but they weren't specific like how far
Yeah,
future.
they
Did
won't say, and I don't know what they're gonna do about him. Yeah, it's gonna. I
that's
don't
wondering.
envy whatever their journey is ahead. If he wasn't done with like final shape, I don't envy what their journey is because they're
Yeah.
either gonna have to do rewrites
Or
I don't-
recast.
It's
They
like
could
in-
recast because they recast Ikora and they found a
They
voice
recast
actress.
everyone. Everyone's being
Yeah.
recast for like cheaper actors, pretty much.
Dude, the voice actress for Ikora, I literally didn't even notice until I found out, and I was like,
he did
Really?
pretty well.
What?
It's
The
so
voice
different.
actress for
well, they don't.
Ikora-
She doesn't talk that often anymore.
She doesn't talk
That's
that often,
true.
but I
That
would
is
say the
true.
Ikora voice actress does a very good job of. I mean, it's Gina Torres
I
is
think
a
they'll
very
replace
distinct
him.
voice,
Yeah.
but like I would say, like it took me a little bit. I was like, she did a good job,
Yeah.
capturing Ikora.
Yeah.
Zavala, like Lance Riddick is
That's
so
gonna be
distinct.
hard.
Like
Yeah.
it is such a voice that is not hard to replicate, and it's like, do you feel like you're doing it injustice if you do try and recast him? How do you handle in the story? So many things that I don't know if that's going to change the way they actually write like any of the characters and stuff. And like Zavala and Keitel, I feel like aren't going to get a moment that I feel like maybe they could have or something. So there's a lot that will be lacking. But yeah, it's like for the story, I mean, we've said it, like Amanda didn't have to die. She didn't have to be there. I understand she likes being in the mix, but like going all the way in the bunker to do the thing didn't seem necessary. Is she going to come back a Guardian? Don't know. I could see it going either way. If they do bring her back, then I guess I'll just have to see how it plays out. But overall, the season, like the activity, I don't mind. It's like basically strikes again. So I mean, there are more strikes for length. They're getting a little long. Like one of them, I feel like is longer than the other two. I can't remember which one. But it's not a bad activity. It's fun. But yeah, as for the story, the arbitrary like Cabal, Shadow Legion people, and then Devrim K kills the leader of them off screen. He's like, I shot that guy. Now you guys need to go do this like last thing over here. And then you got to go take care of a few
It
more.
was really cool. You should have seen it, Guardian. If we could afford to show you, it would have been insane.
It did bother me that for the last mission they were like, "You're so powerful, Guardian, that you'll just suck us up in your astral wake, and we'll be fighting right alongside you, but not really, literally right beside you."
Yeah, we said that too on our podcast. We were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna be right there with you." It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, we'll be
You
around.
aren't.
You'll
Yeah.
be behind a piece of glass.
Yeah.
on, specific
You'll
moments.
be on another part of the ship that we won't see. So it's like those moments where it's like, we'll be right there. Oh, cool, we're gonna fight
We'll be
alongside
right
him.
there with you, Guardian, in spirit.
You get more
it's like,
interaction with them in like Season of the Haunted in terms of that kind of thing than you did in this practically. I did think it was funny that they brought back Devrim after since vanilla like back then. You're like, oh hey, Devrim, you're the same voice actor. Holy shit.
Yep, he's still apparently there. So yeah, like activity fun. I mean, I would say like Season of the Risen compared to this one, Risen was personally much better story-wise. Activity Battlegrounds, I mean, I think they're getting better at the Battlegrounds, and enemy density has like been up there on these, but story-wise, Risen was way better.
Yeah.
Personally.
With that being said, I guess anything else for it? I want to talk one more thing, and that's Season of the Deep is coming. And from what it sounds like, I mean, just by the name, you're like, oh, we're getting worms. Like, I assume.
I hope they bring Savathun back as an ally. That'd be so cool.
There was the
see.
Titans coming back, if that was correct. They're bringing back Titans.
You guys haven't read the leaks, I assume.
No,
but I'm more than
all
just
these questions have been answered. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, we know exactly what's going to happen in Season of the Deep from beginning to end based on leaks. So.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
They're dealing with a leaky house.
If you want to link that to me, I'd love to.
Yeah, it's a pastebin, right? Is that what this?
Just get an idea of what we have to do in the next season.
Yeah, I think.
No, I just want to know. I don't give a shit anymore. Just like, yeah, just tell me. Shit.
Yeah, I don't really like the seasonal content usually, and this seems like it's very on par with what we've seen in the past. And I think the story subject matter is probably better. The enemies that we're going to be fighting are better. Maybe the activity will be better. I don't know, but I don't know. I try not to get too hyped up about this stuff. I just want them to explain the damn veil and give.
Yeah, there is the veil quest. They could next season. So that's
the veil quest we know is going to be next season, and then the other promise they made is that before the final shape, they're going to tell us more about the witness and what it is and what it wants and stuff like that.
I hope so.
Yeah, we are able to.
They have to.
If we were able to accomplish. They don't have to. Trust me.
They
Remember-
should.
Yeah.
They really should if they
yes.
want to land
Yeah.
the plane, but they should.
So I think that, but they did promise that, and they also promised they would explain what the veil is. So if they can accomplish those two things in these seasons, that would be great. Everything else is nice to have because the seasonal stuff, it really grates me throughout the year. Destiny, the expansions are why I and most people play, and the dungeons and raids and stuff that they release in between that. So it's we'll see.
Okay. And usually if I get this correct, they did say like, oh yeah, these upcoming seasons you'll learn about the veil, but besides that, they said like you'll be fighting all the witnesses' disciples, pretty much. They said like plural of that. If
I
I'm
don't
correct.
remember that.
I feel like they said something like that, but I could be wrong.
I know
mean-
Season of the Deep, they said that we're like, sometimes we keep seasons secret. Season of the Deep, we're going to tell you things in advance, and I mean leaks unannounced, but they'll officially supposed to tell, but sometimes they'll be secretive, sometimes they won't. We know the season, we know there's not a power increase, so I'm sure they'll be telling us more as once Guardian Games kicks off.
No boy. Are we excited for Guardian Games? Is it gonna be
a little bit?
I'll participate for content for me,
At
but
le- no, I'll say this. At least they changed the activity to actually be a competitive event, like Guardians Games always should have been, and a class-based competitive event.
Yeah,
Ooh.
there's a
You
class.
think it's gonna be rigged again?
No, it was never rigged. Come on.
Yeah, I just
Everyone thinks otherwise.
I mean, I'm just
Well, you're just like,
fun.
Hunters never win, except for the one time.
I mean, everyone's won once now. That's why they're all like,
Yeah.
it's up in the air now.
Yeah.
But no, I was gonna say, I mean, all I gotta
Well,
do is
now if somebody wins, it'll be because of a game-breaking bug, because the
Mm.
game basically doesn't run at this point in time correctly, and it'll
'Cause-
people will be like, it doesn't matter, and I'll be like, yeah, that's correct, it doesn't matter, it's a fake event in a game, but
I have to focus this time just because I have to do the Guardian Games seal and then get the seal, the overall like 4 event seal that like encaptures all 4 of them. So I'm just like, all right, because I at least I stopped doing
I
like
think that's called simp. I think it says Bungie simp over your head.
Yeah,
to
probably,
get that
yeah.
seal unlocked.
I
yeah.
stopped doing triumphs for the sake because I don't do the score anymore for the sake of this. It's like a waste of time unless you're getting like a ship or a spare or a ghost or something. But otherwise, I'm like, all right, I'll do the seals and that's about it. That's like my biggest, I guess, like investment in it in terms of like what I'm doing. Otherwise, that's like
I'd rock that seal, by the way, that title.
Hmm?
Paid shill would be even better.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. Well done. Yeah, there you go. But all right, I think we've covered everything. And like I said, if you want to hear about the campaign, Season of the Seraph, you can check out part 1. Otherwise, Travis, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis if you like people who tweet about the games industry, Destiny, and Fast and Furious movies. If you don't like those things, then tell your enemies to follow me. That will show them. You can also read all of my stuff on IGN.com. If you Google IGN Travis Northup, you can see all the posts I put up. My last review is Dead Island 2. I'm currently working on some stuff I cannot talk about, and I've got a review coming up soon. Also reviewing Diablo 4 next month, which is going to be pretty huge, and you can see my 2 reviews in progress on IGN or YouTube. I'm also on a show called Bitcast on Sunday mornings. I just got done recording it this morning over on Season Gaming, and then I do a Destiny weekly podcast with this guy Lord Cognito and his friend, I forget his name, is there as well, and that's called The Last Word. So yeah, you can find me there as well if you'd like.
Okay. Ebontis, where can people find you?
Let's see. Ebontis, EBONTIS, my YouTube channel, mostly Destiny content over there. Twitch, Destiny plus variety, so it usually kind of splits where I kind of keep some sanity when got to take a little break from Destiny and play something else. Twitter, same thing there as well, and then of course a show that I co-host with Travis and Lord Cognito, the Last Word podcast.
Okay, that's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So the Last Word podcast, we have our Destiny show, of which we talk on Thursday nights on my YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and guest or not, the 3 of us typically will be there most of the time, kept sort of scheduling issues, but yeah, we have a pretty good time, and yeah, it was excellent to chat with you guys. Always good to mix it up.
Thank you both for coming. I was very appreciative you guys made it in.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Sorry, I missed last week.
No, you're good.
No worries.
Shout out, yeah.
No worries.
Otherwise,
it went long enough. We didn't need a.
Yeah.
yeah, we were like
It was
we
like
went
almost 2
pretty-
hours.
Yeah, this is a shorter episode with 4 people. I was like, oh man, it's gonna be much longer, probably. Hopefully not, but we'll see what we can do. Otherwise, you can find the show on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Sutro Sidetalk. If you want to help us out, subscribe on whatever platform you are listening and watching. And if it's Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. If it is Spotify, please rate us. Or if it's YouTube, I guess give the like besides subscribing. You can also write into the show, whether it's comments, feedback, or questions on an episode that will be upcoming, which I will say next week. Most likely will be a Star Wars episode. We'll probably talk Bad Batch Season 2, and Mandalorian Season 3. So we'll knock those out next episode. But you can write in at sutrosidetalk@gmail.com, just the title of the show altogether, at gmail.com. You could also follow James at InvaderJim124 on Twitter, and you could follow me at GoComzilla on Twitter. And until next week, see you later.
Thanks for listening.